How Creation Began by Amr Sherif. At some point in the past, more than 13.7 billion years ago, the universe and everything it contained was limited to a very small point called the singularity, which has a size and radius of 0, while its density and temperature were very high, reaching infinity. And as a result of an event, this singularity exploded, generating energy, and the universe began to expand in various directions. And at that moment, the four forces that govern the universe were generated, which are the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, the electromagnetic force, and the force of gravity. Because of this expansion, the temperature of the universe began to decrease until it reached 10 billion degrees, which is a temperature that exceeds the temperature of the sun's core by thousands of times. Consequently, part of the energy of the explosion condensed and turned into elementary subatomic particles such as photons, quarks, electrons, and neutrons. And the collision of these elementary particles with each other led to the formation of new subatomic particles. A few seconds later after the explosion, the temperature of the universe decreased more and reached 1 billion degrees. Then the strong nuclear force, which is considered a short-range attraction force, started to bind the protons and the neutrons together, forming the nuclei of atoms. As in the beginning, the nuclei of heavy hydrogen atoms that contain one proton and one neutron has been formed. And then, the universe continued to expand and the temperature continued to decrease until it reached 3000 degrees. Then the electromagnetic forces of attraction began to make the positively charged nuclei combine with the negative electrons to form atoms. So the first atom that was formed was the hydrogen atom, which later formed more than 75% from the mass of the universe. When the age of the universe reached 1 billion years, the temperature decreased more and more and became almost equal to the current temperature of the universe. And more parts of the universe began to condense and form what's known as cosmic clouds or cosmic dust, which began to cluster by the force of gravity, and therefore its density increased as it started to rotate around itself. And with that, galaxies began to form. And after the completion of 9 billion years after the creation of the universe, our Milky Way galaxy was created. Bit to remember, it was nothing. There was nothing. We shouldn't even say the word there. Suddenly, something exploded, so space and time has emerged. Energy has been created, and then the matter. With the passage of time, hydrogen gas began to cluster in different parts of galaxies in the form of clouds, and under the influence of the force of gravity, these clusters began to condense and collide with each other, which led to the increase of its temperature, and the pressure on them increased, and therefore the hydrogen atoms began to merge with each other in nuclear fusion reactions, which led to their transformation into helium atoms while releasing the extra energy in the form of heat. And by the balance of the force of attraction inside these clouds, with the expansion force arising from the heat of nuclear reactions, stars were created. Our Sun was born in this way more than 4.7 billion years ago, and when the remains of the cosmic clouds near the Sun cooled, the planets of the solar system were formed, including our planet Earth. Planet Earth is unique by all standards compared to any other planet that's present in this universe, as it has certain characteristics that's suitable for the development of life on its surface. For example, planet Earth is present in the optimal galaxy and in the optimal region of the galaxy, as the size of the galaxy is suitable for all the necessary elements for life, such as carbon and nitrogen. The Earth is surrounded by the optimal star, which produces the optimal amount of infrared rays which is necessary for the photosynthesis process of plants. Also, the distance between the Sun and the Earth is suitable for water to remain in the liquid state that's necessary for the development of life. In addition to that, the larger planets in the solar system such as Jupiter, Uranus, and Saturn are considered good neighbors for Earth, as they attract most of the comets that attack the solar system, and therefore they protect the Earth from them. Bit to remember, we will show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that it's the truth. The emergence of life on planet Earth went through 4 basic stages. The first of these stages is the emergence of organic compounds. And as we mentioned before, the formation of atoms of elements such as carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus was due to the hydrogen atoms. And the combination of these elements with each other led to the formation of many compounds. Among the most important compounds that was formed is water in its 3 phases, which are steam, liquid, and ice. As for the second stage, it was the emergence of DNA, RNA, and protein molecules. As the Earth in that period was exposed to 2 types of solar rays, which are short wavelength rays such as ultraviolet rays and long wavelength rays such as infrared rays. As these rays used to break down and heat up the particles of elements and compounds, and therefore increase its chemical activity, which led to the formation of the primordial soup, which contains many compounds, and the most important of which are nitrogenous bases and ribose sugar. The combination of ribose sugar molecules with both nitrogenous bases and phosphate groups led to the formation of the nucleotide molecule. And the cluster of nucleotide molecules later in the form of chains led to the formation of nucleic acids, which include RNA. And then DNA and RNA molecules played an important role in linking amino acids together, which in turn has formed proteins. In the third stage, the living cell was created and life began about 3.7 billion years ago in the depth of the oceans, where microorganisms that resemble the ancestors of the current bacteria were created, and the emergence of life was due to the DNA molecule, which is a reproducible molecule. And in the fourth and final stage, the multicellular organisms were created. And these organisms began to appear about 800 million years ago. At that time, living organisms were in the form of simple tissues such as sponges, and then began to form solid parts that leave fossils such as shells and skeletons. And before about 540 million years ago, what's known as the Cambrian Explosion happened in the Cambrian Age. And in it, most of the living organisms that are known to us today has appeared. But to remember, as the being was a new guest to nothingness, life is a completely new guest to being. When talking about the emergence of life and the evolution of living organisms, people are divided into 3 groups. The first group are the Creationists, who totally deny the evolution of living organisms and support the concept of the special creation, which states that all kinds of living organisms were created by God the Creator individually. And they adopt this theory for many reasons. The most important ones are the absence of many middle links between evolving organisms, the lack of empirical evidence on whether the evolution has occurred or not in front of them, the presence of similarities between different organisms, which indicates that the Creator used the same pattern of creation. As for the second group, they are the Darwinists, who believe in the evolution of living organisms of one origin by chance, through the 3 mechanisms of evolution, which begin with random mutations in the genes of the genetic material DNA, then recombination, which occurs when the egg is fertilized, which results in mixing the genetic material with many new patterns. And finally, the natural selection, which means that an organism that has better traits emerged as a result of random mutation and recombination has more chance of survival than another organism that doesn't carry these traits. And Darwinists have relied in confirming their theory on evidence of molecular biology, evidence of comparative anatomy, evidence of embryonic development, and evidence of the fossil record. As for the third and final group, they are the proponents of directed evolution, as this group agrees with the Darwinists that evolution has occurred after the accumulation of scientific evidence about it. But they believe that random mutations can't explain it, because they are certain that the emergence of life and the evolution of organisms are very complex and need a wise, willing, and capable creator. In other words, this group believes that God the Creator has chosen the mechanism of evolution in order to emerge life and create living organisms. And therefore, the mutations that occurred in living organisms were mutations that are driven by Him and His ability. Bit to remember, a little knowledge drives you away from God, but much knowledge will bring you closer to Him. Thanks for watching. Please follow our social media accounts. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.